And a pleasant good evening to everyone. I'm Keith Williams, and welcome to The Works, the podcast where pretty much anything goes and no subject is off limits here. And I just want to say that we are coming on the 11th month of the year. We started resuming the works back in June. And I say that we had a pretty good year in 2022. We had some fundamentally outstanding guests here on this podcast from all over the country, from all walks of life, who have a story to tell and who want to share their expertise. And so we will do no less to present the best and brightest guests uh, anywhere across the country. And so here we have with us today is Lorra Brown. And I understand that you wear a whole lot of hats. So I'm just going to let you share with the audience who is Lorra Brown and what does she do? Who is she? What she's about?
Well, Keith, thank you so much for having me today. Who is Laura Brown is a great question. Laura Brown, first of all, is a mother. She's a daughter, and she has been pinned, as I like to say, a serial entrepreneur this year, is what I really called myself. I am the owner and founder of LBE Consulting, where we work with entrepreneurs on accounting and taxes, and I do business consulting. But I also have a trucking company, and then we have a family Airbnb business. So that is why I called myself this year was this year of the serial entrepreneur.
For those of you, who do not understand that term, could you let us know what does being a serial entrepreneur mean?
Me, a serial entrepreneur means not just doing one thing successfully, but being able to master multiple things and do them successfully and make sure that they are business that are thriving and growing, not just existing.
Uh, yeah, I heard that term a lot in the last 5 years. Uh, that's becoming a popular trend. But I also heard throughout most of my lifetime that a person can be a jack of all trades, but not an expert in everything. Sure, you heard that term before.
I've heard that. I've heard that. And of course, that was one of the things that, kind of made me stay in just in the consulting arena. But then as time went on, I was like, I can do this. I run other people's companies successfully doing this. So I'm like,
Um,
you've mastered this.
are there any entrepreneurs that inspire you to go into business?
Well, when I first decided to go into business, it wasn't an entrepreneur that inspired me. It was a situation in my life that happened. So early on, as I was a teenager, I was a teenage mother, and my parents, which was my dad, took care of me and my grandmother. And so he was being audited due to someone filling out a tax return and putting wrong information on the return. And that is what really made me say, okay, I am going to be accountant. I always knew I wanted to be accountant, but this is what really, really drove it. And so then I always said, I'm going to really focus as well on the IRS part, focus on the law, focus on all of those things and helping people who do not have a voice.
That is definitely a good reason, to go into business. Yeah, I when I asked this question, the number one factor is money. Yeah, you want to make money. You want to be your own boss. Yes, but I rarely hear, someone that's saying, "Oh, I'm interested in, giving people a voice or to solve a problem." So
Right.
those are the two things I I never hear from a lot of people. And it's okay, I'm not judging them. That's,
Right.
that's their motivation, so who am I
Exactly.
who am I to judge?
That's
So growing up, when you was in grade school, you was in high school, uh, was owning a business, is that what you wanted to do when you was a child?
Well, I didn't know about entrepreneurship, even though, I had so many in my family, like they were hairstylists. So they worked for themselves, and then some of them, they would do car washes and things like that. So I never really knew the entrepreneurship side. I knew growing up that I loved math. I loved to deal with money. I loved to solve problems. And so I knew I was going to be an accountant.
I don't think a lot of people didn't hear, because I'm a business owner myself, and it's a lot of people, don't know, my story as to what motivated me to be an entrepreneur. It
Okay.
it actually started when I was in high school. I was a part of a program called Junior Achievement, or JA.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So, it's referred to as JA. So when I say JA, that's Junior Achievement. And I started that in my sophomore year in high school. And one of the things that we had to do was, well, actually, no, it wasn't in high school. It was actually in It was actually in grade school, in the third grade, that I was first introduced to entrepreneurship during the Junior Achievement program.
Okay.
And they had this campaign called Business Basic, and it was taught by high school students, where they'll spend an hour or two one day a week, and they go into elementary and middle schools, and they teach uh third to fifth graders about the world of business.
Okay.
So when I got into middle school, um, my elementary school actually had a JA program that I participated in.
Okay.
And in my eighth grade year, I participated in this contest where we had to formulate our own company, and we had to sell a profit. I mean, we had to sell a product or a service. And the person who so there was a lot of entries, and we had first place, second place, and third place. Third place got $25. Um, Second place got 50, and then the grand prize was $100.
Okay.
So I had two other people on my team, and I ended up winning first prize.
Oh, nice, nice. And it's so ironic that you say that because in school that was part of my journey, but it wasn't JA, it was Future Business Leaders of America, FBLA, that I participated in. And then I
Uh,
took early morning accounting classes. So I knew that all confirmed it for me.
yeah, I was part of FBLA too.
Yes,
So I did both, and went to competitions like
yes.
all over the country. Won an expense paid trip to Mammoth Park in Kentucky one year. It was hilarious, and that's when I knew that I wanted to go into business. And when I was in high school, I actually became a JA uh, business basics teacher.
Okay.
When I actually taught business basics to elementary and middle school students while I was in high school, and that also gave me, the experience of, teaching, as well. So
Right. That is so lovely. I think that it's very important that schools do those type of things to develop your mindset on being an entrepreneur. Everyone may not want to seek out going to a university or anything like that. They may want to take a trade or start a business. Even just not too long ago, I spoke to a group of college students and those that were in high school getting ready to go into college, talking about being a business owner while in college. So it's so very important that we give the next generation those opportunities and that we talk to them and that we're open and raw and honest because not everybody is not honest and they look like they're overnight sensation. And this is what kids get in their mind. They get in their mind about the lifestyle and all the overnight situations, but it's not. It's a lot of hard work. So we share the good, the ugly, and the bad.
So let's talk about some of the accolades that you have been ranked by ECA Accounting as one of the top 100 accountants, in the country.
Yes.
Uh, been endorsed by Dave Ramsey as a
Yes.
Dave Ramsey trusted endorser of local provider specializing in tax and accounting services.
Yes.
You have attained a star in financial services at JP Morgan. Also served as CFO, Chief Financial Officer for the Urban Alternative, the National Ministry of Dr. Tony Evans, and has several years of experience working with nonprofits and churches.
Yes.
Uh, Lorra Brown also have worked with SCORE, which is attached to the Small Business Administration,
Yes.
the YWMCA Financial Empowerment, United Way, the Vista Tax Program as a beta tester and product developer for Intuit, and has served as an adjunct professor of accounting. It says CCI. What does CCI stand
Career college, where we teach them careers to go into. It's part of a spinoff from a larger college. For those that are looking to get their accounting certificate or just get associates in accounting.
for? Okay. And it um also you are a published author.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit. So let's start with of your writing career. What type of things have you published?
So I've published the Entrepreneur Toolkit, and this is a book of telling entrepreneurs what they need to know when starting out. I thought that it was very important because the internet, anyone can post things out there, and now social media is here. So anyone can tell you, get the EIN first. If you're getting, and that's not the case. You need to get the LLC if you're doing the LLC, then the EIN. And so people just, I think it's really much needed for them to understand the steps and then what is coming along with a business. You're responsible for registering in your state, your county, or where your city, even possibly. You may have a sales tax if you're selling products in multiple states. They don't understand that the difference between an independent contractor and an employee. It's just so many things in the financial industry and taxes that people do not understand what they're responsible for and how to make sure that they meet those responsibilities.
Is that something that you kind of educate people on as
Most
to
definitely.
how to formulate a business or start a business?
I do. My thing is always getting your financial house in order. So just like I tell everyone, you have a foundation under a house. And if that foundation is not solid, what happens? The house will collapse. This is the same thing about your business. If that foundation that you start is not solid, it will collapse. So it's very important that we train and we teach people what they need to know, at least so they'll be educated so that if they hear someone, then they will not fall into the wrong traps. Especially what really made me really think about it was during the PPP. So many people, and now it's the EIC, the ERC credits. So many people have fell into these traps because they don't know any better and they didn't have their financial house in order. So they weren't able to get the type of funding that their business needed. So I
Uh,
think that,
and I'm and I'm glad you mentioned that too, because we had instances where people was getting PPP loans and they really didn't need it,
right,
and they basically, uh, I'm just gonna be real, they 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 totally waste that money. Had nothing to do with business. There's been reports of some people spending on personal things like cars and houses and boats and things
yes,
of that nature, and there was a big crackdown on that too. And you have major corporations that wasn't even really affected by the coronavirus pandemic. They got these millions of dollars, and and people that really needed it was left out.
right. Unfortunately, when things like this come about in every situation that has a financial aspect to it, we see where people will abuse the system. But going forward, one thing that happens is whether it's the government or whoever, they figure out, that there's abuse and how do we combat it on the next time. So then it begins to be harder for those individuals that need it to obtain funding. They end up going out of business before they get funding or before they get the help that they need.
And I also want to throw a couple of more accolades here. Um, Laura Brown is the first African American female appointed by the Chicago Federal Reserve for the state of Arkansas. Uh,
Yes. So I am the chair for the state of Arkansas for financial literacy. Not only do I just, minimize it to Arkansas, I teach financial literacy all over the world. I think that we really need to educate people, especially those that are in communities that are disparity. We need to teach them about their finances. I always say if you have bad financial habits in your life, that will pour over to your business.
I definitely agree with that. It's your personal finances, and now not only that, but also in government, we tend to make bad decisions when it comes to government finances. As well. I mean, I call it sound economics. For example, if you have, if you are a mayor or a member of the city council, you know, I always hear complaints that the city's not getting enough revenue, city's not getting enough revenue, right? But when a person comes with an actual plan, on how to, bring money to your city, it gets swept under the rug. I'm gonna give you an example. Um, I live here in Birmingham. In my neighborhood, for example, uh, we basically needed basically are in what is called a food desert. Are you familiar with that
Okay.
term? Okay,
A
we are
little
in,
bit.
okay. So a food desert, it simply means that a person has to travel um X amount of miles to get to the nearest grocery store. It's kind of
Mm.
like if you're in the Sahara Desert, uh, the nearest oasis is like 2,000 miles away.
Right. We call it something else in our rural community, but I know what you mean because there's a lot of rural communities of where I come from. So they have to travel miles to come to the next Walmart or big grocery store or anything like that because you're right. They only have a corner store that just maybe supply them with their immediate needs. And it's like that city's government is not trying to bring anything into the city, revamp it, create job creations, or any of those type of things.
Right. And so what happened was is that the community I live in, Walmart wanted to go into that community, but and they wasn't asking the city for, an incentive. They was going to flip the whole bill. And they also was going to give the community $1 million for neighborhood revitalization. Do you know the city and the county turned that proposal down? And I'm like, y'all, they turned it down.
I can most definitely believe it because I know that there are so many places that do turn Walmart down. They don't want a Walmart in their neighborhood. They don't want a Walmart in their city, all of these different things. And then they do come up with excuses or legitimate things that they say, quote unquote, is why they should not have a Walmart in the area of how Walmart does.
Right.
But they don't look at the economic development side.
Exactly. I call it sound economic. Okay.
Right,
And and their excuse was, okay, the property that was in question that Walmart wanted to build a super center on, their excuse was, there are, better things that could be done, with
right.
the property. And I was like, okay, what? All I hear is cricket. But then sometime later, they wanted to put an animal care shelter, in that same property,
Oh, wow. Yeah,
and the community fought it, and they won. And we were saying that is not, you know, it's not economically sound.
right,
It's not sound economics when y'all complaining that that you don't have enough revenue. It's a nonprofit.
right.
That's a no, that's a no brainer. So, I'm wondering, did they skip economics or something? Economics 101 or something. I mean, I don't know. It's just not sound, it's just not sound economics to me.
Right,
When
right,
you are investing in something, let's be real, when people, go into business, they want to make money, right? So in order to make money, you have to invest in something. And when
right.
you invest in something, you are expecting a return.
Absolutely. I hope they are.
I, and the sad part is that this stuff is no longer being taught, in our public school. It's
That's
not.
absolutely true.
It is not being, financial literacy is not being taught in schools. Um, you know, Entrepreneurship is not being taught in schools. We have been taught over the years, in order to get ahead, you got to go to college, get a good education, and get a job. You know, they beat us in the head, over that, not knowing that everybody is not college material,
Right,
and that
right,
there are alternatives, but those alternatives are, not being mentioned because we're so used to, graduate from high school, go to college for about 4 or 5 years. And 9 times out of 10, and there's a good chance that, you might not get a job in the field, that you have a degree in. So
that's
what do you
true.
do? So what do you do then?
That is absolutely true.
So
Yeah,
so these are some of the things that need to be taught, in our schools, in the schools. It need to be taught in, communities. It need to be taught, in rural areas, because in rural areas, that's where, you have less economic activity in rural areas,
right,
in urban.
right.
For example, in the Black Belt region in Alabama, The average income per family is less than $10,000 a year.
Oh, wow.
Less than
That
10. I am
yeah,
not kidding. This is I am not exaggerating.
I can believe it.
This is a true fact. And so in order to, really have, any type of financial success, you have to go like Montgomery or Tuscaloosa or Birmingham or Mobile. And that's a hop, skip, and a jump. You're
Mhm.
talking about roughly an hour to a 2 hour radius
Right.
just to get some kind of financial, stability. So there has to
Okay.
be, so we need to talk about alternative.
Yes, I totally agree. And I think that one of the things as the alternative is that there are 15 states out there now that are doing financial literacy in the school system. It is part of their curriculum. And, I think that that is a wonderful thing that they are starting to implement this into schools. And there's so many community service groups that are starting to implement it as well. One of the things with me working with YWCA, I was teaching financial literacy and partnering with them and, making the community aware of the things that are available to them. Should it be food stamps, Medicaid, or different things like that if they have been out of work, have they downsized? So I really do commend that there are states that are stepping up because they realize that this is a need. Not only is it a need in the disadvantaged communities, but it's a need in all communities. Not everyone talks about financials with their children. You would not believe how many kids do not know how to balance an old-fashioned checkbook, make a budget for adults. So I think that these type of things are really taking a turn in this situation. And one of the states, and it's so funny that you mentioned Alabama. Alabama has implemented financial literacy into the school system. And they did this in the 2013-2014 school year. Now, I'm not sure what all schools in the state of Alabama have the financial literacy program into it, but that is one of the core requirements that is supposed to be for the high schools in the state of Alabama as far as the graduation.
Not not
So
not many.
right, right. That's why I said I'm not sure how many, but that's supposed to be part of the curriculum added for them to be able to graduate out of high school. And I think that, it's going to take a community of people to push for these things, especially in our disparaged communities. Because one of the things, the more you educate your community, the better off they're able to generate wealth and the community is able to flourish. So, I agree with you. Change has to happen somewhere. And that's where, one of these things, even though I've been appointed to the state of Arkansas, and Arkansas has a lot of rural communities and disparaged, and they are very much like Alabama, low income. And so that is one of my goals, not just for the state of Arkansas, but for every state, is to make sure that we educate people. First, I believe that if we start in the home, then it will trickle down to your children as well. It has to be a joint effort of having parents and children together. One of the things that if you realize kids do spend 8 hours a day in school and we can teach them, but where do they learn? They learn from the home. So one of the things that I always say, not to knock on people because we do what we know. And we've all been in situations. So there we are. We have people like Rent a Center, all these rental places, tote the note lots that have high interest rates of taking advantage of the poor and those that are less fortunate and just, raping them over the coals and be charging them. So this is where the children get the same likelihood of, I will go to these places and I will do business. But if we can teach them and the parents that, the money that you've paid for something 2 and 3 and 4 times. If you set a budget, or if you look at other ways, there are other ways of being able to pay for these things. And now recently, if you look at it, there are so many. Layaway used to be around at Walmart all the time. So layaway was a way to help those that were less than fortunate. But now if you look, so-called the new layaway is what I call it, is places like Klarna, Zip, Affirm. But then you have to look at some of these places that will charge high interest rates to people, but then some of them don't. So if you look at Congress not too long ago, they did have them at the Capitol. They were talking, they were asking them questions about allowing people to have so much stuff and then putting them further back. So I think that we are on the right path, and I hopefully that a lot of us like you, Keith, and me will speak out of places that are taking advantage of those that are less fortunate, and this will be able to turn around.
And let's not forget these payday loan places too.
Yes,
I
yes.
seen
Let's
a
not talk about
whole
payday
lot.
loans. In some states now, payday loans, if you do not pay a payday loan, has begun to be a fraudulent. Like you went out there and you got something on the intention of not paying it, but that's not the case. A payday loan has a 300% markup. But let's look at where they target. Let's look at where they set. They are setting in communities that are low income. Even the title places where you will go and you'll put your title up for cash. Look at all of these places. They sit there, and they, in the check cashing places, they focus on people that are less fortunate in low income. They will not come into the middle income or the high income, because those communities are not going to allow them. And so what needs to happen is the low income community needs to realize that they are being raked over to the coals, that they are being raped. I know that they're in financial situations that they need, but we need to speak out against those that are trying to take over and to do them wrong. I have seen so many people suffer due to the payday loan system, because they're in a desperation, because they're in a place of where they need to be able to get some type of funding, but they really don't understand that they really never pay it off, in a sense. Because what happens is they're just paying the interest off, or they pay it off and then reborrow back, and then pay it off, reborrow back. But then if one thing happens in your household, if you get sick, a child gets sick, or anything, you lose your job, then there you are. You cannot pay these people. So then you're facing all types of other things, damage to your credit. So, it's really more of a devastation, because I like to say it's on a hamster wheel. We're going round and around and around, and it's almost impossible to get off that hamster wheel.
That's some real stuff here. Definitely some real stuff out here. And I really commend you for what you're doing, and you're providing. I don't know if I should call this a service. I'm just going to say that you're really making a difference. Let's put it that way.
Well, I'm definitely trying to, because I have been a single parent. I have been a person that at one point was on food stamps, Section 8, and Medicaid, and all of those type of things. I decided that, I wanted better, wanted to do better for my children, and did what it took to get out of that. I saw that that was never going to be a lasting thing for me, because of the drive and the intuition that I had. But it doesn't mean that we don't get there. It just means we don't stay there.
And that would come to one of your talking points, which is self-esteem and confidence. How does that relate to what you do? Because you covered a lot of topics, under here, such as you speak about finance, budgeting, and self empowerment, particularly towards young adults.
Yes. I think that we really have to have good self-esteem, because if you lack the self-esteem and the confidence in yourself, you will never see yourself getting out of the situation that you're in. And not only, I think in the past, it's been since 2015, Jewel Tankard offered me a platform where I talked about how depression and those type of things affect it. I'm very big on the mental health as well, because I've been in a place of having my grandmother pass away and it took over on my mental health. But one of the things that I've noticed, that if you don't have the self-esteem and it's depression and the mental health issues, then that affects your finances. So it's all just a snowball effect where the snowball just begins to grow. So we've got to get to a place of knowing that you are worthy, that you can have the same things that anybody else has. We all have 24 hours a day, that it just takes putting in the work. A lot of people, they don't know where to start. And I always tell them, if you go to your local library, there are books there. You can go there and start. You can go to groups like SCORE. You can go to places like SBA. There is a lot of places where we are mentors to others who are trying to build a business or trying to get their lives on the right track, where we donate our time. And I'm big on, that's why you'll see me doing a lot of nonprofit work. I started out in the nonprofit arena before I went into corporate America. I started out on that side, went in corporate America, came back out and started working for Dr. Tony Evans, which is a large national ministry as well. So I went back to nonprofit, and I'm always giving because I sit on numerous boards. I'm always teaching to those in different communities.
Our next topic would is cash flow strategies for small businesses. The secret icing on the cake for increased cash flow. What does that mean?
So this is basically a class that I teach entrepreneurs how they have to understand the cash flow and understand how their business finances go. Because a lot of people think, oh, I log into my bank, I got some money. Oh, I'm making it. But that's not necessarily how it goes. We need to predict when is the high, when is the low. And everyone, no matter what industry you're in, you're going to have a high and low. And if you cannot manage that cash, you cannot predict the cash, you cannot know what bills or vendors need to be paid, when to hold off, then you're going to financially bankrupt your business. You're going to be just existing and not thriving, not growing. If you cannot manage that cash, if you do not know what your cash is because you don't have a P&L, which is the profit and loss, you don't have a balance sheet, any of these things, you are just hurting yourself, because you cannot anticipate when your slow times are. You cannot trend anything. All you know is probably, let's say if you're seasonal, you know then. So for people that are doing taxes, if they're just open from January to April or whatever, they know their high months. They know the other months that they're not doing any business, because most of them are shut down and closed, or if they are, they're getting a straggler here, a straggler there. But any other industry, without having the proper financials, you will not know what your high and lows are.
Let's move on to the next topic. Tax tips for small business owners. Learn the
So
most
that's
impactful
basically,
documents most
I'm
small business
sorry.
overlook.
Oh, so basically that's just giving small business tax tips, telling them the things that they can write off, what's ordinary and necessary in their business, the things that they need to look at. One of the things that is very hot right now, everybody wants to hire a child. Well, there are rules and regulations. Everybody wants to buy a business vehicle, but why buy a business vehicle and you're not generating income? So one of the things, those are some of the things that I talk about in that particular speech or webinars or however we deliver those.
Okay, next topic is concerning women entrepreneurs on the rise. Even though women are flocking to entrepreneurship, the transition isn't always easy. Understanding you have the 10 tips for entrepreneur success as well.
Yes. So I think that sometimes as women, we've come out of corporate and we tend to still have that mentality that we're working for someone. And so we don't really know how to transition in as a business owner because we haven't been there. Or what they think is once we leave corporate America, then, hey, I'm a business owner, I do what I want. But that's not necessarily the case. We still have clients that we have to assist, or we still have a product that we have to sell, but it's more of listening to what, whether your clients or the people that are buying your product, what do they want from you? Not what do we want, but what do they want? And then how to take your skill set and properly grow your business and giving you the tips that you need.
And the last topic on the sheet is negotiation tactics for women. Women are
Yes.
known for leaving money on the table. Know your worth and earn more. What does that mean?
So basically, we have as women, we are men are quick to say, no, this is not something I'm going to accept. Women, we tend to want to play all roles and we sometimes are scared to speak up. A woman makes less than a man in business and in corporate America. So this is teaching them how to negotiate, how to go to the table and really get what you're worth, not to be afraid to walk away and know that you deserve that. Know that if someone does not want to pay you something, then they don't actually see the value in you or the value in the service or the product that you have. And you deserve to be paid for that value that you bring. And it's letting them know that you really got to bring value. You can't command dollars with no value.
Oh, that's pretty good. Moving gears a little bit.
Okay.
Um, as a published author, we see that there's a book that you have written. It's called The Entrepreneur New Business Guide, a guide to build a successful and solid business foundation. Talk a little bit about this book.
Right.
By the way, and once you finish that, uh, I personally would like to know, you have nicknamed yourself the tax CEO.
Okay.
So inquiring minds want to know about that too.
Okay.
But
So,
first, let's get to the book.
alrighty. So, like I said earlier, this book is going to position if you're an aspiring entrepreneur or an entrepreneur to let you know what you're financially responsible for, as in taxes, no matter what they are, if they're sales taxes, self-estimated taxes, what tax returns you need to file. So it's just all about the financial aspect, and it's all about educating you as a business owner, entrepreneur, of what you need to do. And then if you're thinking about going into business, what your responsibility really is.
All right. And where can someone purchase that book from?
So they can go out to my website, which is www.lbeconsulting, and there is a link to it, and they can purchase it there, or they can go out to Gumroad and they can search the tax CEO and they can purchase it there as well.
All right. Uh, Yeah, also you mentioned that you are the tax CEO.
Yes.
What's that about?
So, I was trying to think of, okay, what explains what I really do? And I was like, it's taxes. That's where my core focus is. And so I was like, the CEO of taxes. So that is where the tax CEO came from because I talk about a lot of taxes. I talk about taxes more than I do probably the accounting piece because I do so many audits and different things like that. So that's where the tax CEO was pinned from.
What would you say is your catered audience?
My catered audience is going to be women and men entrepreneurs that are at a point of investing in their business or where they would love to have tax planning and they want to make sure that they're doing their business taxes correctly. So that's who it is. And it's mostly service providers that we work with.
Also, you are a business strategist. What is a business strategist
So, a
done?
business strategist, what I do is I work with those companies that have a million plus in revenue. So, what we do is we look at the things that is just burning the cash and we strategize whether it's three core focuses. So, I'm looking at operations and I'm looking at sales and I'm looking at finances. So, what is the bottleneck? Because I use the theory of constraint and Six Sigma that I'm trained in. Where is the bottleneck and where do we need to open it up to get your business going on the right path and strategizing where you're going to go? You can't just go somewhere. You have to have a plan, a strategy that is laid out to get there.
Fantastic. Now let's talk about uh, your personal testimony as a single mom, mother of three children. Quite sure you've been through a lot of fears and adversities. Of going into business and and juggling all of these hats. How do you deal with it?
I've learned over the time there has to be, we have to have balance. There was a time in my life that I had no balance, that I worked so much and never really paid attention to my children as much as I needed to, and had family that helped with bridge that gap. And so now the way that I juggle it is making sure that everything is planned out and I have a team behind me. That is the biggest thing that I have is a team that helps.
Do you like have any, mentors or accountability partners that, that kind of help you, regulate this balance?
I do. I have mentors. I do have all of those things that everybody needs to have. So what the interesting thing about me is for every area that I want to be successful in my practice, I have a mentor. So I have a mentor on the tax side. I have a mentor on the business building part. I have a mentor who mentors me and um, the piece for the accounting and bookkeeping, building that piece, and each one of them hold me accountable.
What motivates you to continue to do what you do, even when you find yourself in rough spots? What keeps you going?
What keeps me going is this next generation that I'm raising called grandchildren. Um, it really keeps me going to know that I am going to have something to pass down to them. I'm leaving, most people say a legacy, but I'm really leaving a true legacy for them. All the things that I do, All the things are really built around my family, making sure that they know what it is to put in hard work, understanding business. And, I have a couple entrepreneurs um, out of my children. My children are entrepreneurs. So that is what really drives me. And then the other part that really drives me is getting up every morning knowing that I have the ability to make a difference in someone's life.
Well, it's certainly great to have you on here today. We're going to get ready to close here. Uh, we just have two more questions and we're going to close it out.
Okay.
The first question is, if someone wants to reach out to you, maybe they want to take advantage of some of the services that you offer, how do they be able to reach you?
They can reach out to me on my website, which is www.lbeconsulting.com. And they can also follow me on all social media handles, which is on Instagram, the tax CEO. And on Twitter, it is Brown underscore Laura. And then on Facebook, it's LBE Consulting. So they can find me on any outlet and reach out.
And the last question that we ask all of our guests is kind of like the last word. Um, what last word would you like to share with the audience?
My last word would be to make sure that you do your due diligence, make sure that you really understand what it is to be an entrepreneur and what it contains. And then lastly, don't chase the money. If it's something that you love and that you're passionate about, I found that the money will come.
Sounds like some great words of wisdom there. When we think entrepreneurship and owning a business, the first thing I hear is yeah, I could be my own boss and I'm about to get paid.
Yeah, I hear that a lot too. And then when a tough patch comes, they they had no idea. And I'm like, yeah, they come all the time, even in my season.
And we definitely have to be prepared for that. It's just like like everybody, they romanticize, being an entrepreneur, a business owner, but they haven't really taken the time out to deal with the logistics. How did I get there? What do I need
Right.
to prepare in order to be a successful entrepreneur? I'm quite sure everybody want to be on the cover of Forbes magazine, or something, or Time magazine or something like that, but it's just the romanticization, of being an entrepreneur. But it's a lot of work, that goes into it. And it's something that is not going to, be built in a short period of time. It's something you got to work at every single day.
I agree. It's a consistent hustle. You can never, well, not hustle. It's a consistent. You have to show up when no one else shows up. You have to always be there marketing your business, talking about your business. They just don't understand. They can't just take to social media because they think that social media is the outcome of them finding all their clients. And then they get disappointed when it's not.
hmm I mean, it does help though, but it's not,
Yes,
the whole enchilada.
right.
Well, that is the last word. And I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be a part of this podcast. I'm quite sure you've been on a lot of podcasts. You've spoken to, a lot of people. And so I know you have like different experiences with different podcasters and just people that interview you. So
Yes, I do, Keith. And thank you so much for having me. It has been wonderful. I love how we just had the dialogue of talking back and forth and just, really talking to each other and you just not focusing on answering me, asking me questions. That's the part I love when it's genuine and it just flows.
yeah, and I think that's kind of missing from a lot of podcasts and some of your interview programs. Like look at on TV, like Meet the Press.
Right,
They just throwing questions, at you. It's not interactive. And one thing that I try not to do is try not to imitate other podcasters.
right. Okay. Well,
Uh,
you've really done that well.
yeah, I want to put my own spin and personality and into it. But one of the things I cannot stress enough is that um, when we're dealing with podcasts or even interviewing in general, it tends to be one dimensional. No
It's
interaction.
right. It does.
Like we're having a normal conversation.
Yes.
I like that because I really think that the audience would be, connected to that, once they see that, it's just not another, interview program. There's actually dialogue, there's action, discussion, there's actually interaction.
Yes.
So
I agree.
that's something that, more and more that I've been implementing in all of my podcasts. And
Okay.
so it's not a big trend. I mean, I haven't, listened to a whole lot of our podcasts, so I can't, really make, an intelligent analysis until, I start, listening to some of the podcasts. But pretty much that is the foundation. And
Right.
most
Well,
importantly, the information that's being presented. We don't hear a lot of these things on in mainstream media. Not in full detail anyway.
that's true. That's true. Well, I thank you for adding your own spin and for really coming and just giving a true connection with a dialogue. That is what, for me, being interviewed, that is what makes me able to relax and to really show who I am. Not that I'm ever trying to be anyone else, but sometimes, like you said, that interview style, if it's you're just uptight and you're just saying, yes, yes. And then we go on to the next question and go on. And so you really don't get a chance to tell people really who you are, and they don't get a true, genuine connection with you. And I'm all about connections.
Right. And that's something that we haven't discussed, at all about the connection, the networking piece, which is of course in my opinion, is one of the essential ingredients in being a successful entrepreneur. First thing I realize is that you can't do it by yourself, and you're not
Exactly.
in, business for yourself.
That is so true. I totally agree. Because one thing that I tell people that I mentor is people know when you come with false pretenses and your motives are not pure. You will not get past that door because there are gatekeepers. When you love what you do, people will see it light up on your face and they'll see your tone and how genuine and how passionate you are. And that is what makes them connect. I tell people the majority of my clients that we get are word of mouth. I would say about 85% is word of mouth. They've come from someone else. And then the other 5%, we've done some type of advertising, and we probably get about 3% from social media. But then the rest of it, they're seeing me speaking. They interact with me when I'm speaking at speaking engagements. So that's another piece.
I'm glad you brought that up. So you kind of mentioned what's actually going on between the mentor and the mentoree. So that's pretty good. That's your extra nugget in it for you guys. It's free of charge. Okay.
Oh,
And with that, we're going to get ready to close out. Is anything else you want to say before we close out?
no, there isn't anything else. It's been a pleasure.
Um, l- uh, Laura Brown, ladies and gentlemen, a lady with many hats. Um, I just want to encourage you to keep on pushing.
Thank
Um,
you.
I'm so proud of you. Um, not exactly what you do, but is how you do it. It's that genuine spirit that latches on to people. I mean, I think you said so yourself. People know when you're real, and people
Yes.
know when you are fake. Um, there's a lot of genuine gestures here. So I encourage you to continue to do what you do, continue to tell your story, even if it just reach one person. I'm quite
Right.
sure you can go to sleep at night knowing that you made a difference
Yes.
in one
Yes.
person.
Thank you. Yes.
And that would do it for us here on our edition of The Works, where we pretty much, if it's like a hamburger, you go to the restaurant and say, "Hey, I want a hamburger with the works." That means you want everything on it. So that means that we talk about just about anything and everything that's going to be beneficial to you, the listening and viewing audience. So we hope that you will tune in next week for another great episode of information and inspiration and interaction. Until then, I'm Keith Williams, your host. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.